Welcome to week one of the $5,000 land flipping challenge. Now, if you guys don't know who I am, my name is Sumner Healey. I've been flipping land since 2019. I've done somewhere in the neighborhood of about 600 deals since then. 99% of that has been raw, vacant land. In the last few years, I launched a community known as Leah, where we've shown over 400 other folks the magic, the unbelievable opportunity that is land flipping. And less than 2 years ago, I helped co-found this company right here, Land Insights, which is a data analytics platform that takes what we teach inside of Leah and ramps it up to Mach 10. Now, we're at a very interesting inflection point because right now, a lot of folks are losing interest in land. We have land investors that are pivoting to other strategies. And across the board, we have just less people that are getting into land. And I find that very fascinating. There's a lot of folks that say, oh, land flipping is dead. Flipping land no longer works. It used to be easy, but those days are gone. Well, we're actually going to find out right now, are they right or are they wrong? I know the KPIs from within my business. To this day, we still acquire somewhere around $500,000 to $1 million worth of land every single month. But I said, you know what? Forget my KPIs. Let's start from ground zero. Let's start with $5,000 and document the entire process publicly. So that's exactly what we're going to do. So let's get into the rules of the challenge. As I mentioned, $5,000. That is the budget we're starting with. That full $5,000 is going to be deployed towards marketing. I'll review all the additional tools that I use. There will be a little bit of a subscription cost to some of these tools. It's a few $100 a month. We're going to keep our tool stack lean, and we're going to deploy all of our capital towards marketing. Now, yes, this business does require some capital to get started. This is not a service-based business where you can start with $0 in your bank account. But in the same vein, while you need some money, you can also ramp up so fast in this business. It's really unlike any other niche I've ever seen. I've seen folks land $300,000, $400,000 profit deals in less than 6 months. Pretty hard to beat that in any other business model. Now, the marketing channel that we're going to be using for this is exclusively direct mail. Now, yes, there's a lot of other channels we could use. We could use cold calling or RVMs or cold texting, but I love direct mail because it requires pretty minimal skill. You don't have to be amazing at the phone. You don't need a giant team to send out cold text messages. And you don't need to risk your livelihood by sending RVMs, losing sleep at night, wondering if you're going to get slapped with a TCPA fine. What I've found with direct mail is it's ultimately the highest form of trust-based marketing. There's inherently a lot of trust when folks get a piece of mail, opposed to when they get a ringless voicemail or a cold call. So we have that working for us. The other thing is that direct mail allows us to send out offers to owners at scale. I'm going to show you guys exactly how we do that, how we aggregate the right markets, how we price those markets on the front end for vacant land, and how we send offers to owners through a 2-page letter system. What that allows us to do is pre-qualify these leads with a price. So we don't have to waste our time with people that want market value or well over market value. We say, hey, we're going to offer you $50,000 for your 5-acre. Call us if you like it. And most people don't. But the few that do, there's opportunity there. Direct mail is a high quality, low quantity channel. And it has a phenomenal ROAS when done correctly. ROAS is return on ad spend, which ultimately is the health metric for any business and more importantly, the health metric for any marketing channel. When done correctly, it's not uncommon to get a 7x, 10x, 12x, 15x return on your marketing dollars. Now, that return doesn't happen overnight. Typically, to see the fully weighted results of a marketing campaign, it takes months. Heck, sometimes it can take a year to fully realize all of the potential from one campaign. This is not like Facebook ads where you turn it on today and you start getting sales tomorrow. No, there's latency and there's lag time in this business. And that's why over the next few months, I'm going to take you guys on a journey and you're going to follow me along every step of the process. You will get a look over my shoulder as I build out these campaigns. You'll see the tools that I use, the markets that I pick, how I price them, my letter copy. You'll see it all. And I'm going to give away all of the resources that I use in this challenge. Down below in the description for any of the resources that I use, you'll see links for the tools, any of the things I create, whether it's an offer letter or a purchase agreement, all of that will be able to be downloaded for free. Now, truth be told, I don't know how this challenge is going to go. It's not predetermined. I very well may fall flat on my face, or it might be a gangbusters huge success. And that's the fun of building in public. That is the fun of sharing in a very vulnerable sense. I'm putting my neck on the line and you get a witness. Now, if you're new here, let's talk about what are the mechanics behind land flipping? What exactly is that? Well, land flipping is an active real estate business. There's a lot of ways to make money in real estate. You can fix and flip houses, you could wholesale houses, but land flipping is the ugly stepchild that most people pay no mind to. And it's a shame because there is so much opportunity here. Not only is most of America raw land, drive through most parts of America outside the major metropolitan areas, and it's land as far as the eye can see. You've got a ton of supply. Also, land is very hard to quantify when it comes to prices. So you have a lot of folks that don't really know how to value land. And so if you can build the skill set of knowing what land is worth, it's a huge asset. You also have a marketplace that lacks liquidity. You see, houses are very easy to sell. Land is very hard to sell. That's why we pay so much attention to what markets we work in. We can buy land in any county in the US, but you might not have success in any county in the US. And so the markets that you pick really matter. We need to find markets that have liquidity, that have real demand for land. We send marketing en masse, and we're looking for owners that ultimately want to hit the easy button. Now, the truth is we don't always work with people that are having high levels of distress. It's not like typical real estate where you're looking for the person that's about to go through foreclosure. No, for a lot of people, this is their third or fourth asset. They might have a few houses in this random piece of land, and yeah, I just want to get rid of it. I always say the land flipping business is akin to having a garage sale. When you have a garage sale, you're looking for convenience. Just because you're having a garage sale doesn't mean you're distressed. Maybe you're moving and you just want to get rid of this stuff. It also typically means that you know you're not maximizing value, and that's okay. You might have bought a bike for your kid for $500 2 years ago. Someone offers you $100 and makes your life easier. You're happy to do it. That's the world that we play in. Now, for a lot of people, our service isn't required, but there is still tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of people at any given time that want to hit the easy button. And it's our job to find them and make it really simple for them. We provide liquidity in a very illiquid market. We also can close typically in 2 to 4 weeks. We cover all realtor fees, title costs, all of that. And so it's actually a really attractive service to the right person. Again, the vast majority of people don't need our service, but a small minority absolutely do. Now, if you're watching this and you've never flipped land before, you're probably saying, this sounds crazy. Well, what's interesting is we actually get raving reviews from the people that we work with that say, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. You made my life so easy. As I'm filming this video, I currently live in Bali, Indonesia. Now, last year I moved from Las Vegas and I had 3 cars I had to sell. I had about 2.5 months to sell them. I knew I wasn't going to get market value, and I was totally okay with that. I just wanted convenience. I wanted someone to take those cars off my hands as fast as possible. Again, that's what's happening here. You're creating a business that's like the Carvana for land. Now, how do we actually get paid? Well, again, we work in the right markets. We buy the right properties that are actually in demand in these markets. And there's a specific system that we've developed that allows us to move these properties typically in 30 days, 60 days, or 90 days. And that's actually very uncommon for land. Most pieces of land could take 6 months or 12 months to sell, but there's a method to the madness. You can see this business combines a lot of different skill sets that are required. On one hand, you're a marketer. On one hand, you're a salesperson. On one hand, you're an underwriter. On one hand, you're a negotiator. And on one hand, you're an internet marketer. And ultimately, that is what we do when we move land. There's a science to listing properties. There's a science to maximizing the eyeballs on the property. There's a science to getting buyers to the property. There's a science to selling the property. And again, we're going to walk you guys through that entire process through this challenge. Now, if you can master these skills, you can have an unbelievable 6-figure or multiple 6-figure per month business. Now, I don't know where you're at in life. That might sound ridiculous, but we've had dozens of people just in the last year alone within our community hit that 6-figure per month mark. That might sound hyperbolic, but I promise you there is huge opportunity for those that are willing to develop those skill sets and are willing to work their butt off for the next few years. You see, what's really interesting is this business takes a while to start showing results. 3 months in, you see nothing. 6 months, you see a little bit. 12 months, okay, starts to get exciting. Make it to the 3-year mark and your life is unrecognizable. That's exactly what's happened in my life. I made right under $100,000 my first year in this business. Okay, that was exciting, but it wasn't monumental. It was enough for me to leave my job at the time. Okay, 2 years, we sold 240 properties. Getting exciting. Year 3, it all changed. And that's true for most businesses. There's just this kind of hump that you have to get past, this curve that you have to get past. But this business often doesn't reveal its cards early. There's this kind of ugly no man's land that you have to get through. And if you can pay your dues and move past that, it's pretty unbelievable what's on the other side. Now let's answer one of the most common questions. And that is land flipping wholesaling? No, It actually has nothing to do with wholesaling at all. Wholesaling comes from the world of single family homes, and wholesaling is the idea of getting a property under contract and assigning your contract to another party. Typically, this is a B2B transaction. You're a business, you assign it to another business like a house flipper. That doesn't really exist as much in the land world. This is typically a B2C transaction, and in most cases, we're actually closing on these properties and taking title. Now, there's many reasons that we take title to these properties, and we don't need to cover all of them here, but do not worry. You don't actually have to fund these deals out of pocket. You see, within our community, which is free to join, you'll see a link down below. It's in Discord. We have hundreds of funders that fund our members' deals or fund deals within our community. And this is very common in the real estate space. This is the whole private money joint venture world. And so in the land business, really your capital gets allocated towards marketing and tool stack, and eventually towards building a team. But the actual acquisition of your properties, we pass it off to a funder. Now, there's two kinds of funding you can use. There's joint venture funding, where someone's funding 100% of the purchase price and the closing costs, and they get equity in the deal. That could be 20%, 30% equity in the deal. So you guys become partners in that transaction and you don't come out of pocket for anything. This is beautiful because you don't need a track record. You don't need a resume. Ultimately, that deal acts as your resume. If it's a good deal, you could be brand new and no one cares. On the flip side, as you become more advanced, there's something called private money or hard money, and this is going to be debt-based lending. Now, this is not for beginners to start with because, of course, you're using debt, which carries its own set of risks. And typically with debt, you're going to have to come out of pocket. There's going to be points you might have to pay up front. They might make you pay 20% of the purchase price. They want you to have some skin in the game, and they're usually looking at your track record as well. But the beautiful thing is you can be brand spanking new and take down six-figure deals with joint venture funding. So we take title, we market the property, we sell the property, someone else takes title. Now, there is a very small sub-niche of wholesaling in the land space, and this is wholesaling infill lots. This is not really an area that we play in and not a place that I typically recommend people to cut their teeth. You see, there's three main categories for land. There's rural vacant land, there's rural recreational land. This is typically 5 acres to a couple hundred acres. There's rural infill land. This is typically ½ acre to 5 acres, usually outside of a town or a city. And then there's infill, and this is typically ½ an acre and below in a city, in a town, in a metropolitan area, within city limits typically, or within a subdivision. Now, we typically just cut our teeth in the rural recreational and rural infill space. The reason being is there's much larger opportunities for bigger spreads. There's less competition. It's a relatively resilient asset class. No matter where the economy's at or interest rates are at, there's typically still demand for this asset class. And there's multiple exit strategies. We can have value-add strategies like entitlements or subdivides to force appreciation on the property. Now, the little bit of wholesaling that happens in the land space is typically with infill lots where folks will wholesale those to a builder. It's a bloodbath environment. Spreads are compressed. You're typically making $5,000, $10,000, maybe $20,000 on a deal, and you're competing with so many other people. When you move over to this rural recreational space, rural infill space, it's not uncommon to land $50,000, $100,000, $200,000 spread deals, and you could be the only person that's reached out to them in the last few months. There's also multiple use cases for it in terms of the buyers, and so you have a much wider buyer pool. You're not relying on a set of 6 potential builders to buy your lot. You have hundreds, maybe thousands of different potential buyers because one person wants to build a campground, one person wants to build a tiny home, one person wants to use it for hunting. You get the point. Now, it's not to say that wholesaling doesn't work, but the strategy that I've been playing out for the last 6 years is far superior. And I know this because I paid my dues trying the wholesaling model. So if you're looking for a wholesaling strategy, this is not it, but I'd still recommend watching all the way through this challenge because you might have your mind changed. In fact, every single year we have hundreds of people joining our community that are moving away from the land or house wholesaling model and moving into the LEA land flipping model. Now let's talk about the tools required to pull this off. The first tool that we're going to be using is Land Insights. Now that's the tool that we use to select our markets. It's the tool that we use to export our ownership data. That's the people that actually own land that we're going to be marketing to. It's the tool that we use for our pricing to actually price out our offers. It's the tool that we use for AI scrubbing to remove all the unwanted properties. Landlocked properties, flood zone properties, wetlands properties, you get the point. All the stuff we don't want to market to, we let AI through the platform remove it out. We use Land Insights to comp our properties once they come inbound to us. We use Land Insights to find our realtors for listing our properties. We use Land Insights for listing our photos. We use Land Insights to actually create the photos within our listing. You get the point. It's the backbone of this entire operation and is the lifeblood of what we do within our land business. So that's the first thing. The second thing is you're going to need a mail house. We use Rocket Print and Mail. And we've got discount links for all of this below. That's the mail house that we're going to be using here. We're going to be using a 2-page offer letter system, and I'll be giving away my offer letter and my purchase agreement in this challenge. And then you're going to need what's called an answering service. There's 2 main answering services. There's Pat Live and Answer Force. This is a call center that's going to take the initial inbound call. So you might send out a campaign and get 50 people that call you back, but maybe only 20 of them are qualified. I don't really want to waste my time shuffling through the 30 folks that don't want to talk to us or are crazy or want to yell at us. So we have that as a front-end filtration system, and then we just take the warm 20 leads, put that in our CRM, and we'll work those manually. Now, eventually you will build out a team, a generalist VA, an acquisition manager, an intake manager that will run the back end of this business. But for this challenge, it's just you and those tools. That's truly all you need. One thing as a bonus is I do use Google Workspace. I use that for Google Sheets where I actually price out my mailers and store my data. And I also run my email through Gmail. I do recommend if you're going to be following along in this challenge, go buy a domain, set up a Google Workspace account, and link your domain to your email address. So that might be sumner@landinsights.co, something that looks professional. You don't want to have an email that's sumner123sunshineboy@gmail.com from when you were in 6th grade. It doesn't read well and it looks unprofessional. Now, the bonus tool that you may or may not need is a CRM. There's 2 CRMs that I recommend. One would be Follow Up Boss and one would be Pebble. Both great systems, both work very well. But if you're starting on a budget, you absolutely can avoid needing a CRM for a few months. You can use Google Sheets to store all of your leads. And if that's the case, you will want a phone system to call through. Open Phone is a very popular option. Again, we'll have all of these links for you down below. Now, if you're crazy, you could just use your personal number. I did that for years, and I still get phone calls to this day. Now, I really don't recommend doing that. It's a few bucks to get a phone service so you can separate your personal number. But if you're scratching pennies together to get this started, that is an option. Well, that's a wrap on week 1. Next week, we are going to be building out our marketing plan together. We're going to break down all of the math, build out our budget, and get this ball rolling forward. If you guys like this video and you're excited for the challenge, do me a favor, give it a thumbs up, drop a comment below if you're following along. And to stay up to date on the challenge, make sure you hit the subscribe button and that little bell icon. See you guys in the next one.